Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, that Supreme Brahman is infinite, and this conditioned Brahman is infinite. The infinite conditioned Brahman proceeds from the infinite Supreme Brahman. When through knowledge, realizing the infinitude of the infinite conditioned Brahman, it remains as the infinite unconditioned Brahman alone. Om, peace, peace, peace. So we are studying the Ishopanishad. With such a long gap, people might have forgotten. What are we doing exactly? So we're studying the Ishopanishad. And that Upanishad is a small Upanishad. It has 18 mantras. And out of those 18 mantras, we have gone through more than half of them. Today, I think we're going to take up the 15th of the 18 mantras. So a very quick look back upon what the path that we have covered. Really, the first mantra of the Upanishad, it's the beginning and it's really the conclusion of the Upanishad, and it's also the high point of the Upanishad. And that too, just the first line of the first mantra of the Upanishad. Ishavasya sarvam yat kincha jagatyam jagat. This entire world of temporary, transient entities, it is all to be covered by Isha, by God, by the divine, by the transcendent, by the supreme. And Shankaracharya there, what he does there is he says that in all these things there is one underlying reality. So that one underlying reality is what is called Isha here. And what do you mean covered by it? Vivekananda says not by a foolish kind of optimism, but by actually seeing the reality. It's already there. There is an underlying oneness which is already there. And Shankaracharya, he gives an example in his commentary that if you sometimes the sandal paste which is used in the worship, it's covered over by a layer and it gives off not its usual wonderful fragrance, but a foul odor. And all you need to do is you scrub it and scrub it until the natural fragrance of sandalwood comes out. It's already there. The fragrance is there. It's just covered over by the layer which has formed on the sandalwood. Now, it means that you don't actually have to spray sandalwood spray on top of the sandalwood. You just have to uncover it. So covering God here means uncovering it. Because it already exists and it is covered over. What is it covered over by? Shankaracharya says it's covered over by ignorance, not a physical layer of anything. It's that we just don't know it, that we just don't see it. That's the covering, and that has to be removed. How do you remove an ignorance? How do you remove a covering of ignorance? Physical covering, some kind of layer on sandalwood, you can scrub. But how do you scrub ignorance from the mind? The only way we can do that is through knowledge. You have to generate knowledge. So this generation of knowledge, it proceeds by inquiry into who we are, what all this is. So it is tantamount to saying covering everything by God, Ishavasya. In the Sanskrit, achhadaniyam, the Sanskrit word Shankaracharya used means to cover, but to cover here means to uncover. And what it amounts to is uncovering means discovering. So discovering always is the process of inquiry, of searching and finding. This one reality, which is Isha, Brahman, Atman, pure being, pure consciousness, this is the central teaching of the Ishopanishad, central teaching of Vedanta. So what it does is it shows us there is an infinite reality. It points out that everything in the world is changing. Whatever is in the world, people, places, objects, achievements, possessions, whatever our condition of life, everything is transient. Everything is flowing. But beyond that, there is something which is unchanging, something eternal, something transcendent. And that's already there. And so this one which is unchanging, this one which is underlying everything, In other words, it is the infinite, or the peace chant which we just did, Purnam. It is the complete, it is the whole, it's already there. So the first thing it reveals to us is that such a thing is there. That there is, in the midst of Apurnam, the incomplete, the fragmented, there is the whole. It's already there. In the midst of the ever-changing, the eternal is already there. In the midst of the dissatisfactory, the unfulfilling, deep, lasting contentment, fulfillment is already available. This is the first thing which is pointed out here. The second thing is even more extraordinary. We might ask, where is this God, Atman, Brahman, Isha, where? What are you talking about exactly? Even such a thing is there. The second thing which is pointed out, Shankara, in his first line of the commentary on this mantra, he says, it's you. He says, Isha, the way he plays it this way in his commentary, he says, Isha is the word used for God, Ishvara, that which controls, the supreme controller, etc. But Isha is equal to Paramatma, the supreme soul of everything, perfectly acceptable. But the Paramatma is yourself, it's your innermost reality. So, Svena Rupena, your own reality. Now, notice, this is like something tremendous. First of all, that there is an unbroken reality in this universe, which is underlying all this fragmented universe. That's the first claim. The second is this unbroken reality, this infinite reality, this eternal reality. It is you. It's our innermost nature. So this Isha, this Atman or this Brahman is not something far away. It's not something remote. It's not something to be believed in, not something to be speculated about, not a distant, an other, even a divine other. It's not an other. It's in fact our own self, the real nature of ourselves. Why real nature? Because we don't know, you don't know that. We don't think that we are that. So the difference here is one of knowledge versus ignorance. We have to discover our real nature. So the second thing which is done here is, first is, there is an infinite reality. Second is, that infinite reality is not remote. It's not distant. It's in fact literally, directly you, most immediately available to us. And third is, it establishes a oneness of non-duality or oneness. In spite of seeming to be a universe of variety and difference, there is a divine non-duality, an underlying oneness. So which later the Upanishad speaks of as the one who sees the self in all beings in the self, the one who sees oneness. For that person, there is no more delusion, there is no more sorrow, and so on. So this is the central teaching of Advaita, and central teaching of the Ishopanishad. So these three things, that this one infinite reality is there. Second, it's not something distant or something to be believed in or speculated about. It's you. It's you, most directly you. So we need to discover this reality. We need to discover who or what we are. And third, it's a oneness. It establishes the oneness of the universe, the underlying oneness or non-duality. And the Upanishad expounds on this in the mantra. This is the first mantra. And in the third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth mantras, this non-dual teaching, the central teaching of Vedanta is given. But there is another side to this Upanishad. The second mantra gives the second side of this Upanishad, that suppose one does not access this Brahman, Atman, self-knowledge, enlightenment, then is there any other way out for this person? And the second mantra says, Kurvannevehe karmani jijivished shatagam samaha. Doing all these actions in life, a person should seek to live a fulfilled life of 100 years. And there Shankaracharya says, for those for whom enlightenment is not immediately possible, either they are not seeking for it, or they're not capable of it, or they're seeking for it but do not attain it, what is the alternative? The alternative is, there is this whole other side of the Vedic religion, which is actually the bulk of the Vedic religion, the ritualistic portion. The seeking of this enlightenment comes at a cost. The cost is actually, it's in the very first mantra itself. Tena tyaktena bhunjita. The importance of renunciation is introduced there. So you give up this manifest universe and your the lower goals, the pursuit of pleasure, the pursuit of wealth and power and status, the pursuit of heaven after death, various kinds of heavens. So all these worldly and otherworldly goals are given up. If you want the infinite, then your sight should not be set on anything less than the infinite. No finite goal. Now, suppose one is not capable of such renunciation. Is there no other way? Can I not also, have these finite goals? Can I not also pursue pleasure and, secular knowledge and family and children and career and doing good in this world and maybe even trying to go to heaven after death? Can I not combine that with, the final enlightenment and moksha and freedom? And the answer is yes, it is possible, but it's a roundabout way. It's the more scenic route, where it is said that if you combine um, the pursuit of worldly goals, if you make it a pious pursuit, a life, which is dedicated to dharma, because of that dharma, you will get the results thereof, whatever you want in this world, and the heavenly states after this world. Eventually, if one becomes finally ready for that final renunciation, desireless, then one will attain to enlightenment also in the long run. But if one wants enlightenment and freedom right now, then one must have that goal. Moksha must become the goal right here, right now in this life. So these are two paths. Shankaracharya, what he does here is he splits the Upanishad into two parts. 18 mantras. Out of that, he says mantra 1 and then 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is Vedanta. This is self-realization. This is Brahma Jnana. This is the essential teaching of Upanishads. And mantra 2 and the explanations of mantra 2 you find in the mantra number 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. That is the path of the Vedic ritualist. The one is called Nivritti Marga, where you turn away from the world. And another one is, the second one is called the Pravritti Marga, where you move into the world. Now, moving into the world, one must be careful here. It does not mean this, people will say, we are already in the world. Why do we need Isha Upanishad for that? No, we are already in the world instinctively. People instinctively pursue pleasure and power and all of that. What the Ishopanishad and what the Vedic religion suggests is that you pursue these goals being kama, artha, dharma, within the limits of the Vedic dharma, within ethical limits, within the ritualistic limits of the Vedic dharma. Then it becomes sustainable and beneficial. Otherwise, what will happen is we'll be trapped in samsara, which most people are trapped in samsara. You'll just go through the wheel of karma. Depending on good karmas, things will be a little better. Or bad karma, things will get worse. And we'll go through lifetime after lifetime. Whereas if we pursue the same things, the worldly things, and by otherworldly, I mean heavenly states, if we pursue that within the limits of dharma, by leading a pious lifestyle, a religious pious lifestyle, then it will be conducive to the gradual sequential evolution, spiritual evolution from this world to higher worlds to final freedom. So this is the whole structure. Now, where are we? We have completed the Vedantic portion, which is the one directly applicable to all of us. We are all spiritual seekers. We want God realization, preferably here and now. If not here and now, in that case, we will lead a devout life of meditation, prayer, japa, so that we can access that sequential liberation. Now, where are we? The 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, and 13th and 14th mantras have shown us that the complicated portion, they've shown us that basically you have to combine the Vedic upasanas, meditations, and the Vedic rituals, the actual fire sacrifices. You combine them for the maximum result. What is the maximum result obtainable? What is called Brahmaloka, the heaven of Brahman. This is the highest heaven attainable. where you go and live in the presence of God. What will you get there? Well, it's the best possible of all universes. And if one has no further desire, then from there one will attain knowledge, and through knowledge, moksha. This is called krama mukti, sequential liberation, contrasted with sadhyo mukti, immediate liberation. What is immediate liberation? Ishavasya sarvam. If you realize that one non-dual reality, I am that, here, now, in this life, then one will get freedom right now. So we are at this point where we are now talking about a person who has led a pious, a devout, ethical, and religious life. Only the terms of these the descriptions are in terms of the ancient Vedic religion. So where the rituals were fire sacrifices. And the meditations were not the meditations which we are used to today. Today, the devout Hindus would meditate on Ganesha, maybe, on Krishna, or Rama, or Ramakrishna. The ancient Hindus, they had different kinds of meditations. But the principle is the same. If you lead a devout, God-centered life, you are assured of, after death, what is called Sadgati, the higher attainments, going to heaven, and so on. All right, one little addition here, important addition. This is Shankaracharya's framework. But the Ishopanishad is a favorite Upanishad for many, many, many great masters. So Vivekananda loved it, Mahatma Gandhi, Aurobindo. Vivekananda does not support this interpretation. Neither does Aurobindo. So what Vivekananda does is, instead of splitting the Upanishad into two parts, he gives one consistent interpretation from the beginning to the end. So what he does there is, if you see this one limitless divine reality, Ishavasya Sarvam, then Kurvanneveha Karmani, the second mantra, live your life working. Manifest this in your life. So the second mantra follows from the first, and all the Upanishadic mantras, they are a continuation. He interprets it in that way, which is a radically different interpretation from what Shankaracharya gave. Aurobindo, along the same lines, he goes much further. Those who have studied Aurobindo scholars know that Isha Upanishad was his favorite. And he gave multiple interpretations, and he wrote about it, if I'm not wrong, 10 times in 10 different writings on the Isha Upanishad. And those interpretations, they differ crucially from Shankaracharya's interpretation. So with that background, now let us go ahead. It was all background. We are now going to go into the 15th mantra. Remember where we are now. We are talking about this person who is not yet enlightened, who has not realized I am Brahman, who has not yet realized Ishavasyam Sarvam, that there is one non-dual reality and I am that, not yet realized. But this person is a devout person, is an ethical person, and has led a life of Vedic ritualism and meditation. Now, this one prays. At the point of death, this one prays. Remember, what's the destiny of such a one? This one, after death, will travel. The enlightened one will not travel. The enlightened one does not go, has nowhere to go. The enlightened one realizes, I am the reality of this entire universe. I am all that there exists. Where will you go? But the unenlightened one still identifies with this individuality. And so when the physical body dies, the individual soul, the subtle body, causal body, will travel. Where will this one travel? Something wonderful. It goes to the highest heaven, Brahmaloka. Now, at the point of death, there's the next 4 mantras from 15 to 18. They are wonderful prayers, sublime prayers, prayers to God for the attainment of, let me die and go to the presence of God and live forever in this Brahmaloka. Just one little technical point. If a person still has desires at that point, that person will be reborn again into this world. Of course, as a very advanced spiritual seeker. If the person has no more desires, finally, at the point of Brahmaloka, that person will get knowledge there by the grace of God, the knowledge that I am Brahman, and will attain liberation from there. Will not come back into this samsara anymore. Holy Mother, Ma Sharada, in one place, she says to a monk who had asked a question about liberation, she says that, but my child, if you become desireless, entirely desireless, you will attain liberation right at this moment. Right here, right now. Same thing. The 15th mantra, I'm going to chant it and then read the translation. Hiranmayena patrena satyasyapi hitam mukham tattvam pushan apavrinu satyadharmaya drishtaye. The face of truth, which is Brahman in the solar orb, is concealed by a golden vessel. Do thou, O sun, open it so as to be seen by me, who am by nature truthful, or am the performer of the rightful duties. All right. Basically, what he's saying, it's very poetic. The gateway to the truth, or the face of God, or poetically speaking, or more technically, the gateway to my goal is covered by the blazing light of the solar disk, the sun. So that's my gateway. That's the portal to the truth. It's covered there. O Lord, he's praying to the deity, the sun. Remove this blazing light. Withdraw your rays, this light and heat, so that I may see the face of truth. I may see the face of God. The face of truth, Brahman in the solar orb. So what's going on here? Let me introduce the central character here, which is Hiranyagarbha. We know God is understood at three levels in the Upanishads. Ishvara, Hiranyagarbha, Virat. Just as, think of it this way, just as we have these three levels, I, this being, I have a physical body here. This is a physical body. Each of us has this. And we have a subtle body. Thoughts, feelings, emotions, our inner, the mind and the intellect and the memory. This is our inner being, our subtle body. You can even call it one of the meanings of the English word soul. When you say he's a good soul, what are you referring to? You're referring to the personality of the person, so the inner character, the mind. So that's our subtle body. We have a subtle body. And then there is something called the causal body, beyond the physical body and the subtle body, something that, for example, what we experience when we do not experience the physical body. We do not experience the subtle body in deep sleep. Seems like blankness, but it's a seed state. That's called the causal body. Now, at the cosmic level, this also holds true. Pure consciousness, Brahman, associated with the entire physical universe, is called, with all living beings, with the bodies of all living beings, and indeed the entire physical universe also, is called Virat, the vast. So this, you see, then are we seeing the vast right now? Not quite. We are seeing the parts of the physical universe. We are seeing a few physical living beings. But to see the Virat, you would have to see all of it together and the consciousness behind it. This is what Arjuna sees in the 11th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, which is so tremendously overcome, which is called the Vishwarupa Darshana, the view of the cosmic form of God. So this is one reading of God, the most evident, Virat. Then there's something subtler. All our subtle bodies taken together. All the subtle bodies of all living beings taken together, including the gods. All these powers, inner, subtler powers taken together, associated with pure consciousness. This is called Hiranyagarbha. Bit like our inner being, our mind, bit like our experience in dreams. And just the causal body, just the seed state associated with pure consciousness is called Ishvara. So God is understood in three levels, just like we see ourselves at three levels. What we see ourselves right now in the physical level, where we have a physical body and a subtle body and a causal body. And we see ourselves in dream state, where we do not experience our physical body or the physical world, but we have a world of the mind. And then we have a causal state, deep sleep. Similarly, pure consciousness or God with the causal body is called Ishvara, with the causal body and the cosmic subtle body is called Hiranyagarbha, and with the cosmic physical body, that is the universe, the cosmos, the subtle body and the causal body is called Virat. Now, here, why all of this is to say, the worship which is being done here is of Hiranyagarbha. This relates to mantras 13, 14, 11, 12, 13, 14, they're all worship of Hiranyagarbha. That is the deity worshipped in the Vedas. So that's the most powerful deity if you think about it that way. It is all the powers and all the minds and all the in the inner. It's like basically the soul of this universe. So that is worshipped. Now, at the point of death, this devout person, this very spiritual, very ethical, wonderful person, he prays to Hiranyagarbha. One more thing to be noted here, it's all Vedic karma kanda ritualism, is that Hiranyagarbha is associated with the sun. You might say, what sun? Which sun? Yes, our physical sun. It's associated with the sun. Why? Because although Hiranyagarbha is the totality of all the powers in this universe, in order to focus, in order to worship, in order to pray, you need a place, a locus. And so the sun, the Hiranyagarbha is certainly present in the sun as consciousness associated with the physical form of the sun, but not just in the sun. Hiranyagarbha is present everywhere in the universe. But you worship or pray to Hiranyagarbha and symbolize it as the sun. The entirety of Hiranyagarbha, but you worship it there in the form of the sun. It might be a little difficult to grasp, but think about what modern Hindus do. We are worshipping the Divine Mother, who is the mother of the universe, who is present everywhere, who is omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent. But you worship her as Durga, and you worship her in the image, which is created in one place, in one image, in a particular form, though you know her to be everything at all, and the entire manifested universe. So this is something new for us, the Hindus, for the last few, new means 2,000-3,000 years. But before that, the Vedika Hindus would do the same thing. But imagine, instead of using a clay image or a stone image or a metal image, imagine using the sun as the image of God. So it's a magnificent conception, actually. It's an extraordinary conception, the sun. Now, where is this devout person going? This devout person is going to the highest heaven called Brahmaloka. And there is a particular path by which the soul after death, the subtle body, will go, transmigrate. And this path is called Shukla. That means the white path or the bright path. In contrast to the other path, which is called the dark path. The dark path or Krishnagati is for those who will go to some lower heaven and then be reborn again. Pitriloka, the heaven of the ancestors, and they'll again be reborn again. They'll come back to this world. But this one will not be like that. This one goes straight up to the highest heaven by the bright path. Now, the bright path in this Vedic cosmogony, the bright path goes through the portal, the sun. Now he says, but the sun, I do not see Hiranyagarbha in the sun. I do not see the face of God. I do not see Hiranyagarbha. The prayer is that what I see is this blazing light, this scorching light which I see. So now he prays to the sun that please withdraw your blazing light, these rays, so that I can see my path through you to the highest heaven. So this is the complicated background to this prayer. Now this prayer will make sense. Hiranmayena patrena satyasya apihitam mukham. Satya here means, literally Satya means truth. Here Satya means Hiranyagarbha. So the path to Hiranyagarbha, where is the Hiranyagarbha? Everywhere, but the heaven of Hiranyagarbha is Brahmaloka. So the path to Brahmaloka, which is my destiny, it is now covered. It is covered by the blazing. The Hiranmaya means golden, but Shankaracharya explains it is light, prakasha, by the blazing light of the sun, the physical light. It's obscuring my path to the highest heaven. Now, what am I praying for? O sun, and here it is, the address is Pushan. Pushan is a very ancient Vedic name for the sun god, not the physical sun, the sun god. Pushan literally means the nourisher, because the sun nourishes all life here on earth. So, O nourisher, O sun god, he says, Tattvam apavrinu, withdraw, remove. Why? Satya dharmaya drishtaye. To me, who is dedicated to truth, one meaning, Or Satya Dharma means the one who has worshipped Hiranyagarbha. Remember, Satya is the name for Hiranyagarbha. The one who has worshipped Hiranyagarbha all my life, so I deserve this. This is my result. I will go to the highest heaven. So let me see this path clearly. Please thou withdraw thy blazing rays. It's a very poetic way. This is the soul on the way to, on the radiant path to heaven. This imagery, this icons, this kind of language is archaic for us. But I hope we can see, basically theistic religions say this. Theistic religions, you say God, heaven, after death you go to heaven, whether it's Judaism, Christianity, Islam, or Vaishnavism, or Shaktaism, all of these religions which believe in God and heaven, basically this is what they say, that after death, the truly pious, devout, saintly souls, they will go to heaven. And so they ascend to heaven on this radiant path. That's it. This is the meaning of the first verse of the prayer. Let us just see what Shankaracharya has to say here in his commentary. Oh, by the way, there is another meaning to this, which can be a straightforward Vedantic meaning. The golden disk of the sun is this world. It's this world of Maya. The face of truth is hidden by sights and sounds and smell and taste and touch. These are the blazing rays of Maya, the golden light which obscures the face of truth. The face of God is hidden by the samsara, by this world. So I'm praying to the Lord, praying to the Divine Mother, please remove this radiant, this is radiant, blazing light. We are absorbed in it. Please remove this. Please withdraw it. Show me your true face, the face of God. Why? Satya Dharmaya Drishtaya. I have been dedicated to truth all my life. I'm a true spiritual seeker. I have led a devout and pious life. Now let me see the face of God. Withdraw the rays of Maya. This is a Vedantic interpretation, not Shankara's interpretation, but you can apply it that way. What Shankara says here is, Hiranmayam eva Jyotirmayam ityetat. Hiranmaya, golden, means light, pervaded by light. Basically the sunlight. Tena patrena eva apidhana bhutena satyasya eva aditya mandalasthasya brahmano apihitam achaditam mukham dwaram. Here he says mukham means is the door. Door to what? Door to the highest heaven. The door to the highest heaven, the path by which this devout soul will go, reach Brahmaloka, it is obscured by this blazing light. More poetically, I'm rendering Mukham as face, the face of God. But technically, however, what's going on here is the soul on its journey to the highest heaven. What else do I need to say here? All right. Drishtaya, to see the door means here, Shankaracharya says, Drishtaya upalabdhe, to realize or to attain to that highest heaven. I will attain to that highest heaven, remove the blazing light of the sun. And this prayer continues in the next mantra. We go to mantra number 16. Pushanne karshe yamasurya prajapatya vyuharashmin samuha tejo yatte rupam kalyanatamam tatte pashyami yosavasau purusha soham asmi. Another beautiful prayer. Let me translate. O thou who art the nourisher, the solitary traveler, the controller, the acquirer, the son of Prajapati, do remove thy rays, do gather up thy dazzling light. I shall behold by thy grace that form of thine which is most benign. I am that very person that is yonder in the sun. All right, very beautiful here. What does it mean? First of all, 5 names. He gives 5 names to Surya, these God with the name and form of the sun, God which is being worshipped in the sun, Hiranyagarbha worshipped in the sun. So Pushan, one name. the one which nourishes all life on earth. So the sun is the nourisher. Ekarshi. Ekarshi means a beautiful name, solitary traveler. So the sun travels, the planets travel in a group, and the stars also are grouped in constellations. But the sun, in the ancient cosmology, you see, it travels alone in its solitary splendor. So the solitary traveler, Ekarshi, the one which moves by itself, one which travels by in solitude, the solitary traveler. The third name is Yama, the one which controls everything. So all activity, life, even the weather on earth, think about it. More and more we learn about the sun and its effects. It controls so much by its very presence. And that's also symbolic of God controlling everything. Hiranyagarbha controls everything in this universe. So Yama, Yama means the controller. Surya, that is the well-known name of sun. So sun, S-U-N, sun. Surya. Prajapatya. Now the sun god, the Surya Devata, is said to be the child of the Hiranyagarbha or Prajapati, Brahma. So that's why Prajapatya means Prajapati, the child or the son of Prajapati. So the sun is S-U-N and S-O-N also, S-O-N of Prajapati. So these are the 5 names: Pushan, Ekarshi, Yama, Surya, Prajapatya. What is the prayer? O Pushan, O Ekarshi, O Yama, O Surya, O Prajapatya, Vyuha Rashmin, withdraw your rays, blazing rays. Samuha Teja, you tone down that heat, the blaze. Teja is the heat. So the heat and light, the sun. So withdraw that so that I may travel through you to the highest heaven. Yatte Rupam Kalyanatamam. Show me your most benign form, not this outer form of the physical sun, but the form of Hiranyagarbha. Tatte Pashyami, because I would like to see that. I would like to see your benign face. And then a very interesting statement. Yo Savaso Purusha Sohamasmi. That being who is in the sun and the being who is here, that's me, we are one. You there and I here. Shankaracharya says, I am not begging like a servant. I'm not begging like a beggar. Rather, I am praying for what is due to me, because you and I are one. That divinity which is there in the sun, who is there in the sun? Is Hiranyagarbha, which is being worshipped in the sun. And who is here? It's me. It is I, the person who has practiced these Vedic rituals and meditations and has led a good and pious life. We are one. Sohamasmi. The individual and the cosmic are one. Now, here one may ask this question that doesn't this sound like a Mahavakya? Tattvamasi, Aham Brahmasmi, Ayam Atma Brahma. This very self is Brahman. And if you say Yo Savaso Purusha Sohamasmi, that being which is in the sun and that being which is in me, the individual and the cosmic, we are one reality. So it sounds like a Vedantic realization that I am that. You see what can come to a Vedantic student's mind if you hear this. That one which is in here and that one which is there, we are one and the same. But it's not so. Shankaracharya, I mean, it could have been a wonderful Vedantic statement. That which is the reality of the cosmos and that which is the reality within me, we are the one and the same reality. But Shankaracharya has painted himself into a corner. He can't say that now because this is not part of the way of knowledge. This is the path of the way of action and meditation. So here we are not talking about identity or realization that I am Brahman. What's going on here is something called, again, a Vedic practice called Ahangraha Upasana. Ahangraha Upasana is one of the ways of worshipping the deity is to worship the deity here in yourself. So I am that. This is a form of worship. So instead of worshipping in the Shivalinga or in the Vedic fire altar, or indeed in the sun, you say, it is this here. And I feel the presence of the divinity here, and my body is divinized, my prana, my mind is all divinized, and not me, but thou, you are here. And I worship God in that form. This is called Ahangraha Upasana. And in the Hindu puja, the modern Hindu puja, you will see that actually. When we worship the deity, Sri Ramakrishna Devataya Prana Iha Prana, the prana of Sri Ramakrishna, when we do the worship of Sri Ramakrishna, is here in the worshipper's body, this prana. Sri Ramakrishna Devataya Jivaya Sthitaha. We chant these mantras. The sentient being, which is Sri Ramakrishna, is established here. Sri Ramakrishna Devataya Sarvendriyani. All the sense organs, motor organs of Sri Ramakrishna are here in this body. So this body has now been divinized, and I'm worshipping the divinity here in this body. This is what's going on there. He is invoking the presence of Hiranyagarbha not only in the sun, but also in one's own body here, in this being, in the worshipper, the one who is worshipping here. So this is Ahangraha Upasana. How is it different from Vedantic knowledge? Well, this is worship and knowledge are different. Worship is what is Shankaracharya calls bhava. Bhava means something that is generated. So I worship, I visualize Shiva in my heart. Now, Shankaracharya says, Kartum akartum anyathava kartum shakyate. You may worship, you may not worship, or you may visualize Shiva, you may visualize Devi, you may visualize whatever deity you want. It is up to you. It's something that the worshipper does out of one's own agency. That's very different from knowledge. Knowledge is revealed by sources of knowledge, by epistemic sources. I open my eyes and I see this book. Now, I'm not imagining it. I have no choice but to see this book. My eyes will reveal the presence of this book. This is knowledge. So Vedantic knowledge shows me I am Brahman, not imagining myself as Brahman, not claiming myself as Brahman, not visualizing myself, not suggesting that I am Brahman. So when I visualize, when I believe, when I practice, that is worship. And that is exercising my mind and imagination, all of that. Remember, the interesting thing is the moment you stop that worship, it's gone. It's like a spring you put down and get up, it springs back up again. So, but knowledge is not like that. So you know. So I know I'm Sarvapriyananda. Even when I'm not thinking about it, the knowledge is there that I am Sarvapriyananda. That's my reality. Knowledge and reality, they go together. So Vedantic knowledge, I am Brahman, is entirely different, is very different from this practice of I see myself in identity with, I visualize myself, I believe myself, I worship myself in oneness. That's a worship. Still, it's a worship. So this person is still not enlightened. Of course, a very advanced spiritual seeker. Anyway, so this is the mantra. Now let's look at the mantra and Shankara's commentary on it. He says, Pushan, he explains the word Pushan. Shankaracharya says, Jagata Poshanat Pusha Ravihi. Ravi is the well-known name for sun, the S-U-N, sun. So he says what is being referred to by Pushan is the sun. Why is it called Pushan? Because it nourishes. The word Pushan means the nourisher. Eka eva rishati gacchati iti ekarshihi. The one who travels solitarily, and that is called ekarshi. And so the sun travels through space solitarily in its own magnificence. Tatha sarvasya sanyamanad yamaha. Because it controls everything on this planet. So the sun is the controller, and Hiranyagarbha indeed controls everything in this universe. So Yamaha, the controller. And he says, Suryaha. And he gives an explanation of what is Suryaha. Basically, it means the sun. Prajapate rapatyam prajapatya. The child of Prajapati. Who is the child of Prajapati? The sun god. Vyuha Vigamaya Rashmin Swan. Please withdraw your blazing rays. Samuha Ekikura Upasanghara Tejaha Tapakam Jyotihi. The blazing light, which is the heat, withdraw that heat also. I would like to see your pleasant, benign, gracious form. And we are one. Natu Bhrityavadyache. I am not praying like a servant or a beggar. I am praying like in oneness with you. I see my oneness with you. And he gives an explanation of what is meant by Purusha. Puri Shayanat, that consciousness which is relaxing. Shayanat means relaxing in this body. So that is called Purusha. We are all called Purusha because pure consciousness is embodied here. Puri Shayanat, literally it means the one who is relaxing in the, not on the couch, but in this city. Which city? The city with this body, which is the city. The one who relaxes within, who is dwelling within. And therefore, that consciousness is called Purusha. Yeah. That which fills the universe with life and intelligence. Prana buddhyatmana jagat samastamiti. So which fills the universe with life and consciousness. That another name for that is Purusha. And Purnam, that which fills, is also called Purusha. So because of these many reasons, it's called Purusha. So this is the prayer. Whose prayer? Not the one who is the enlightened one. The enlightened one does not pray this way. The enlightened one is already has found release, has become one with the universe. And now, as long as the body lasts, will be a Jivan Mukta. And when the body drops away, will attain, we say attain to Videha Mukti, the bodiless liberation, but basically remains as the infinite Brahman, as that Isha pervading the entire universe. So here it is the devout one. I just want to say here that it's relevant. It's not irrelevant, because one might say this is all archaic. This is, first of all, even Hindus today, we do not worship in this way. We do not do these sun meditation. I mean, in one way we do, those who do the Sandhya Vandana and all, but not in this way. This upasana of Hiranyagarbha in the sun, and these elaborate fire rituals, they are more or less gone. We have replaced them with our pujas, with the puja of Ganesha, Durga, of Shiva, of the puja, the worship and devotion to the avatars, Rama and Krishna and so on. However, the principle remains the same. The idea that there is a highest heaven in which dwells the divinity of God, and to which the soul can go after death, and then from which one attains final liberation. All those ideas are still there in Hinduism. And in principle, basically, in principle, you'll find them in all the theistic religions. The idea of God, heaven, and the pious soul going to heaven after death. It's just that these descriptions are very, very ancient. And so the language and the way of thinking is a little archaic for us. There are two more mantras, very beautiful, but I will not go into them now. I will complete the Upanishad in one more class. So let us go into discussions and question answer. Kiran is asking, is Soham Asmi same as Sarupya? The Soham Asmi, this one is a meditation. It's a practice which the devout person is doing. It's called Ahangraha Upasana. To put the deity in this body and mind, to think that I am that. It's to think, it's to worship. It's I am not here, thou alone are here. It's a divinized body. It's like a temple now. And God alone dwells here. I and that one are one and the same. But it's a way of worshipping, it's a way of prayer, it's a way of visualization. And it's not the realization that I am that. Now, this Sarupya which you are talking about is a form of moksha or liberation, in which it's a dualistic form. It's part of the bhakti tradition. Sarupya, Sayujya, Salokya, and Samipya. So what happens? How do you get liberation after death if you're devoted to God, not in the Vedantic path of realizing I am that? So you will go to heaven, Vaikuntha, Kailasha, wherever it is, and then you remain in the presence of God. If you remain in the presence of God, still maintaining a distinction, this is called Samipya, in close proximity to the divinity. If you remain in the same heaven, but a little further away, not in the neighborhood, let's say generally, then it's called Salokya, in the same realm. So if someone goes to Brahmaloka and stays there, and does not come back to this world, that would be Salokya, liberation in the same realm, same heaven, same loka. However, there are even more proximity. When you come close to God and attain to the form of God, there's no distinction between your form and the form of God in heaven. This is called Sarupya, that is same form. And Sayujya is even closer. You feel one with the divinity, or you become one with the divinity. All of these are devotional states where your sense of closeness, proximity to the beloved Lord, it becomes closer and closer and closer. And your distinction between yourself and the Lord begins to disappear. Still, it's not the Advaitic realization of the impersonal consciousness. Amira has got a couple of questions. Maya is described as anirvachaniya and its appearance does not have an ultimate why. Correct. Our dualistic traditions say that this doesn't truly explain Maya, whereas they explain it as the power of Ishvara. How do I correctly understand Advaita's explanation for Maya without it sounding like an evasion? Yes, it sounds like an evasion because it's clearly stated to be paradoxical. But the paradoxicality is not because we don't know or we are trying to evade it. That's the very nature of Maya. We do know. That's why we are saying it's paradoxical. To say it is the power of Ishvara makes God ultimately qualified, and that cannot be the final reality. It still is a personal reality, something beyond that. Ishvara with the power of Maya is Saguna Brahman of Vedanta. Nirguna Brahman is beyond that. And Maya there has no separate status, not even as a power. If you take Maya as a power, then it becomes a qualified Brahman. Brahman qualified by the power of Maya, or characterized by the power of Maya. So the evasion, it's not really an evasion. It's a real understanding of the nature of Maya. See, when you talk about Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, now that doesn't mean that the physicist is Heisenberg or the physicists are uncertain about it. No, 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 they are very certain about it. They have understood the thing, and the uncertainty is the very nature of that principle. Or when Einstein says relativity. So relativity means it's not that Einstein is vague about it, oh, it's all relative. No, no, no. It's a very precise formulation. It's a very clear understanding of the principle of relativity. Or Gödel's incompleteness. It doesn't mean Gödel's understanding is incomplete. Not at all. It means actually it's a deeper understanding. Incompleteness, relativity, uncertainty, these are actually a deeper. It's not that science failed. Science progressed, and we understood it in a more deeper sense. So the nature of Maya as understood by Advaita is a deeper, clearer, and more complete understanding. And that is why it is anirvachaniya. Anirvachaniya, not in the sense that we cannot say what it is. No, we can say it very precisely, that it cannot be classified as existence or as non-existence. Sat asadbhyam anirvachaniyam. And that's the precise classification. Are eternal abodes such as Vaikuntha, Golaka considered permanent lokas where liberated individuals go to with spiritual bodies, or does this also need to be transcended? It doesn't need to be transcended. The dualistic ideas that there is an eternal heaven, this Vaikuntha, Goloka, they are all what is called in Vedanta Brahmaloka. This is exactly what we are talking about here. This Brahmaloka, this person who is going to Brahmaloka, who has not attained full realization that I am Brahman, who is on this final spiritual journey, the highest spiritual journey, basically going to heaven. You can accept all of that. Vedanta accepts all of this. Just says that this is not the final realization. Does one have to transcend this? Now, a traditional non-dualist will say there is something beyond this. But if one goes to this heaven, it is freedom. See, both from a Advaitic perspective and a dualistic perspective also. What will the Advaitins say? If you go to Brahmaloka and you have no more desires, you are truly a genuinely spiritual person, you will attain freedom there because you will realize that you are Brahman. And so in either case, from a dualistic perspective and a non-dualistic perspective, there is no return from that, no being trapped in samsara after that. So you are free. If freedom is defined as freedom from the cycle of birth and death, both on the dualistic explanation and on the Advaitic explanation, you are free. Does this have to be transcended? Sri Ramakrishna said, not necessarily. If your attitude is of a devotee, and I want to remain eternally in the presence of my beloved Krishna, I don't want to become one with Krishna. I don't want Krishna to disappear and me to disappear and one impersonal, very boring existence, consciousness, bliss to be there. No. So I just want my beautiful Krishna, and I want to be in the presence of Krishna forever and ever and ever. Advaita, so Sri Ramakrishna says that's perfectly all right. Advaita will also say it's perfectly all right. Will say with a little smile, it's a little immature, and you will quickly change your mind very soon when once you are there. But doesn't matter. If you think that's great, and it's after all, that's a very high thing, a very high and noble thing. What's wrong with that? Sri Ramakrishna says that these heavens are there. He gives an example of ice, water freezing into ice, and when the sun rises, the ice melts back into water. So the freezing of water into ice is the formless Brahman becoming the God with form and name because of devotion. But when the sun of knowledge arises, the form melts away into the formless Brahman. But then he adds that there are regions of eternal ice, Antarctica, Arctic, where it doesn't melt, at least pre-global warming, it doesn't melt. And so they can always be ice. The forms of God remain eternally. Somebody who doesn't want to become sugar, who wants to eternally taste sugar. So why not? Why not? The deeper meaning of this is often missed. Advaita and Dvaita are not on the same plane. Advaita is saying that even when the movie is playing, it's still a movie screen and the movie is just a movie. So if you play the movie of an eternal heaven, it's still Nirguna Brahman only. So if you have a movie playing and if you have no movie playing, the screen is just the screen. If you have a movie playing, nothing has really happened to the screen. It's an appearance. And if you want to continuously play it on a loop, that I'm in heaven, I'm in heaven, I'm in heaven, go ahead, knock yourself out. Advaita will say the integrity of the screen, movie screen, is not hampered there by even the least. The Nirguna Brahman is actually, in one sense, all that there is. In fact, right now, why only in the highest heaven? Right now in samsara, on earth here, Advaita Vedanta will insist only the Nirguna Brahman. Really speaking, the only thing which is really real is the Nirguna Brahman right now. There's nothing else beyond that. So the Advaitic answer to this, are they considered permanent locus? You can think of it as permanent appearances. Advaita will say, let alone being permanent, they didn't begin to exist anyway at any point. So they can permanently appear, but the reality belongs to Nirguna Brahman alone. Abhijit says, is there any literature which compares teachings of Bhagavad Gita and different interpretations of Isha Upanishad? I think Aurobindo does some work on this, but I haven't read enough to say anything definitively. Would Sri Krishna agree with Sri Shankara Swamiji's interpretation or give a third one? No. What Sri Krishna does is the Bhagavad Gita, Upanishads, they are at the source, and the interpretations come after that. So all the interpretations are interpretations of the Upanishads or the Gita. Those Upanishads or the Gita are capacious enough to support all these interpretations. So they are. It's not that they are vague. They require further interpretation to make that meaning clear. No. The exact statement of the truth is found in the Upanishads, in the Bhagavad Gita. But to make it more amenable to our logical mind, we want a clear story. We want a logical, neat system. Then you have to give an interpretation. And there, I think Advaita is it's triumphant. The others are more or less theological. Purely philosophical, I think Advaita would claim to be that one. Jejarishta Shetaratma, is it referring to Ahangraha Upasana? No. Jejarishta Shetaratma, it is referring to the realization that Jiva and Brahman are the same thing. It's the highest Vedantic realization. Raj is saying is the difference between Hiranyagarbha Vedas and Hiranyagarbha formulation of Vedanta. No, it's the same thing. Subtle body of Ishvara. Subtle body of Ishvara? Ishvara at the subtle level. Oh, one thing. Hiranyagarbha is not the subtle body of Ishvara. This is one thing one must be careful about. Hiranyagarbha is consciousness plus the subtle body. Just like the policeman is not the uniform. The policeman is that guy wearing the uniform of the policeman. You, in your dream state, you are not the mind. You are consciousness plus the dreaming mind. Similarly, Hiranyagarbha is pure consciousness, Nirguna Brahman alone. with the overlay of the causal body and the subtle body. That is Hiranyagarbha, not the body itself. Kalavati says, can I ask a question about Maya and how karma affect? So you have to formulate the question more clearly. Priya says, could there be three levels of God be interpreted: waking, dreaming, and deep sleep? States that Jiva has. Exactly, that's what I said. The three levels of God, the physical, the causal, the subtle, and the causal, is exactly like our physical body, subtle body, and causal body, but ours is tiny, is individual. For God, it is cosmic. And the experiences we have in the waking, in the dreaming, and in the deep sleep. That's the paradigm. Parul says, in near-death experiences, one sees a blazing white light. Is that a glimpse in Brahmaloka as opposed to the um, Krishna, not Krishna Loka, Krishna Gati. Krishna Gati is the dark path. So that's the radiant path. Now, anybody who goes to heaven, he goes through the radiant path. So many near-death experiences, interesting that they mention it, that they had the experience of a path of light. They also mention the other beings are there waiting for the, and all of these things you find in the Upanishads. There are beings waiting to take you. So, like Disneyland, you'll have guides and, no, that's not a good comparison. There are so many, Rama said, there's so many works, Upanishads, Gita, Vedanta, Atma, how to build a consistent sadhana practice. Remember, all those, from a Vedantic perspective, all those books are consistent. Each book tells you the whole story. It's just that there are different ways of approaching. It's not that there are too many, you have to pick one. No, all of them are telling you the same story. All of them are telling you the same truth, that you are Brahman. And consistent practice, always at three levels. At the level of knowledge, Vedanta, inquiry, Shravan, Manan, Nididhyasan, which is what we are doing right now. That's one practice. That's the core practice. Then, at the level of the mind, meditation, japa, the practices which we do corresponding to this person who was praying, that let me go to the highest heaven, to Brahmaloka, the practices which he has done. And at the physical level, ritualistic worship, then especially our work of service, karma yoga. So these three practices, knowledge practice, meditation practice, and action, that is worship, whether it is ritualistic worship in the temple or service to sentient beings, feeding the hungry and healing the sick, and serving, just offering service. Then Kailash from Dallas. Point me to Ashtavakra verses that essentially endorse bhakti. Oh, I see. Yes, which asks one to just believe. Shraddhasva tata shraddhasva matra moham kurushva bho. That is in the 14th chapter. I can give. There are some other verses also. You can interpret them as bhakti. It says this, but what it does there is it just says this Advaitic teaching. You are Brahman. Instead of, say, if it's too difficult for me to understand, it's too difficult for me to experience or see for myself. All right, take it on faith. Begin by taking it on faith. Spiritual masters are telling you, the texts are telling you, take it on faith. It's in the 14th or 15th chapter. It starts with Shraddhasva tata Shraddhasva matra moham kurushva bho. My child, accept this with Shraddha and do not be deluded on this point. Chapter number 15 and verse number 8, verse number 8, chapter number 15, verse number 8 of the Ashtavakra. Shraddhasva tata shraddhasva natra moham kurushva bho jnana swarupo bhagavan atma tvam prakrite paraha. Have faith, my child, have faith. That means do not be deluded on this, do not be confused on this point. What is the point? Bhagavan atma jnana swarupa. The Lord, Bhagavan. You see the resonances with what we are doing in Īśopaniṣad also. God or Bhagavan, the ultimate reality. Atma, the self, you. You are one and the same. How are you one and the same? Jnana Swarupa, as pure consciousness. First, you have to discover yourself as pure consciousness. Then you see, what is God after all? It's the same pure consciousness with a different dress. Our dress is this individual physical body, the individual subtle body, and the individual causal body. God's dress, the same consciousness, when it puts on the cosmic physical and the cosmic subtle and the cosmic causal body, then it's called God. But it's literally the same one. It's the same actor who's put on the dress of a beggar and comes and acts as a beggar on stage, and goes to the green room and comes back dressed as an emperor and acts as an emperor on stage. But the person is one and the same, who is by himself not a beggar, not an emperor. Similarly, it is by itself neither God nor the human, not the sentient being, not Jiva, not Ishvara, not Jiva. It's Nirguna Brahman. That's what you are. Tvam prakrite para. You are forever beyond material nature. Yes. Oh, missed the question. Sri Aurobindo's analysis of the Upanishads from two perspectives, which, as I pointed out, but that requires much more study, because I really have not read Aurobindo at that level. I just know that his interpretation is more on the lines of Swami Vivekananda, and he does not agree with Shankara's interpretation. There are multiple interpretations, not just Shankara's interpretation, Aurobindo's interpretation, Vivekananda's interpretation. The ancient acharyas, they also gave multiple different interpretations of that first and second mantras of the, in fact, many of the mantras of the Ishopanishad. That's why I have said the Ishopanishads after doing so many other Upanishads, because the Ishopanishad has these areas of great controversy, of interpretational difference. All right, Punita ji, you have raised your hand. You can unmute yourself and ask the question.
Pranam Swamiji, and sorry, I am struggling to formulate this question, and if I'm not clear, you can take it up next time. That's okay. But what I was struggling with in the first mantra, in terms of my understanding and practice for Ishavasya Idam Sarvam, if I look at it just from a very personal perspective of understanding that particular sentence, is that when I go to sleep, there is a blankness. And I know I'm touching the ultimate peace at that point. And if I look at that as the Antaryami, and the consciousness and the supreme, whatever, Brahman, and when I wake up, this whole world comes into being.
Yes.
And I see the world, which is the Virat. And if I look at that as the sort of the ultimate practice of this, or understanding plus practice of this particular mantra, am I thinking in the right direction, or am I losing something?
Remember, what is there in deep sleep is also there in the waking state, according to Advaita Vedanta. Because according to our common sense experience, that's not at all true. In common sense experience, the waking state, we are aware of the reality. In deep sleep, we have become unconscious of the reality. Advaita Vedanta tells you that reality, which is lost daily in deep sleep, is not the ultimate reality. If it's something that can be lost, can be wiped out by sleep, do you think it will survive when we die? Do you think it will survive when Mahapralaya, when the cosmic dissolution comes? No. Anything that we attain in our spiritual lives, whatever we attain in our spiritual lives, whatever we are doing spiritually, if it's not there in deep sleep, it will not be there after death. It will not be there at the end of the cosmic dissolution of the universe. So just imagine then, all our knowledge, our prayers, our meditations, all of those are tantamount, they are all based on the mind. And the mind shuts down during deep sleep. There's only one thing left over. That is the witness of the mind, which is this Sakshi, pure consciousness, or whatever you call it, the Atman. All the rest is at most helpful. They're all practices based on the mind. This is a very bold claim of Advaita Vedanta. Where is your God? Where is your devotion, your great love and bhakti for God? It's all lost in deep sleep. Tonight it will be lost. What survives? What is not touched by deep sleep? See, this is a hard truth, a harsh truth and a hard truth. What will not be wiped away by Alzheimer's? That which does not survive deep sleep, that which does not survive Alzheimer's, that will not survive death also. That will not survive, and certainly not survive, cosmic dissolution, the end, the Mahapralaya of the universe. So there is one thing which is there in deep sleep that alone appears in this magnificent way, the blazing light of the sun, which is what are the rays of this sun? Not, I don't mean the physical sun. The sun of Maya is this golden disk of the universe. And when you remove it, because for us we are unenlightened, when you remove this golden disk, it seems to be dark. We call it deep sleep. For the enlightened ones, what is there in deep sleep is present in dreams, is present in waking also, literally. And not one more thing has been added here. That's the amazing view. And it's you. It's your real nature. Let me do the peace chant. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.